Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a very, very riveting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this is a particular topic that really piqued my interest today. I was doing some research, and I came across an article from fadeawayworld.net that featured some comments from former Chicago Bull, Detroit Piston Dennis Rodman, who was essentially breaking his silence on the dispute or the feud, the ongoing feud, the messy feud between Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. Now, let me just give you guys a backstory. For those of you guys who don't remember, around 2020 or in 2020, Michael Jordan and ESPN dropped The Last Dance docuseries. And when that docuseries came out, as you guys know, there was a pandemic, so everyone was at home. It absolutely captivated audiences all over the world to the point where that ended up being ESPN's most successful docuseries in the history of that organization. And it was a riveting docuseries that took you through the beginning to the end of the Chicago Bulls dynasty. So when the docuseries was finished, to my and everyone's surprise, Scottie Pippen then went on to make an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show. And when he went on the Dan Patrick Show, Scottie Pippen, out of nowhere, went on a full assault on his former head coach, Phil Jackson, by calling him or suggesting that he was a racist, and going after Michael Jordan in ways that I think the entire NBA and, dare I say, sports community could have never imagined Scottie Pippen could. So what we want to do is want to play his initial comments that really sparked this beef a few years ago, and then we're going to come back. Take a listen to what Scottie Pippen had to say on the Dan Patrick Show a number of years ago. Take a listen to that there.
Help me understand the GQ article where you talked about the 1994 playoff game when you refused to go back in the game and Phil set up the play for Tony Kukoc.
Well, I mean, it's not much to be said if you go back and look at when Scottie Pippen entered the Bulls and when Tony Kukoc entered the Bulls and who deserved the last shot of the game.
No, I understand that, Scottie. I'm just going by what you said. You said you need to read between the fine lines, and then you go on to say it was a racial move to give him, Tony Kukoc, a rise. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, if you knew that Scottie Pippen had been with the Bulls from 87, battled through the Pistons and every other team that we had to get to those 3 championships, wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? Like 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? Like, I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move,
well, why would Tony, who was a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me out of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. Like, that was Scottie Pippen's team.
But
Scottie
Phil
Pippen
then
was on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there. So who's next in line for you?
But have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe Bryant, and then came back and coached him? I mean, who would do that? You name someone in professional sports that would do that, you know? I think he tried to expose Kobe in a way that he shouldn't have. You're the head coach, and you're the guy that sits in the locker room and tells the players, this is a circle, and everything stays within the circle because that's what team is about. But you as the head coach, open it up, and now you go out and you try to belittle, at that time, probably one of the greatest players in the game.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your way of putting it out, and I have my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. you're looking for him afar.
Yeah, and look, that's why I wanted to have you on. But I go back, and Phil designed a play for Steve Kerr when Mike was there, and Mike didn't have a problem with that, did he?
I don't understand. You're not setting me up to answer the right question. What do you mean Phil set up a play for Steve Kerr? He didn't set that play for Steve Kerr. He set that play for Michael Jordan.
I thought in the huddle, Mike says, "I'm going to throw you the ball. You'll be open at the foul line." And Phil had nothing to do with that?
And you don't want to get this show started because it'll take us a long time. Do you know all those cameras that's sitting in that huddle who they was working for?
The NBA.
So you know who Michael was speaking to when he said that, right? that was planned. That was speaking to the camera. That wasn't speaking out of what we're going to have to do, what the play is going to be. That was speaking to the camera. Had John Stockton not came down, trust me. But that was building his own documentary because he knew he was controlling the cameras.
So you heard what Scottie Pippen had to say there. So as I was saying about the article, so I was doing research and I came across that article and it had the following headline: Dennis Rodman gets honest on Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen beef. It continues on. Scottie Pippen has been beefing with Michael Jordan since the Last Dance documentary came out, and Dennis Rodman has now shared his thoughts on the situation. It's a lot of things that happened over the last couple of years, Rodman said. So I think Scottie's a little bitter and Michael's more laid back and say, okay, like whatever, but they're going to work it out. Rodman also claimed that Pippen and Jordan were on great terms during the final season together with the Chicago Bulls. The 60-year-old stated that the two always hung out and traveled with each other back then. So that's what Dennis Rodman had to say about the feud. And he says something interesting that I really want to harp on, which was he said they're going to work it out. I don't think they are. And I have a few reasons why I believe that. Let me give you guys the reasons. First of all, a mutual friend and former teammate of both players in Charles Oakley also broke his silence about this fallout a number of years ago. And as you guys know, Charles Oakley has a very close relationship with Michael Jordan. Charles Oakley said in no uncertain terms that he doesn't believe that the relationship is ever going to come back together. That's number one. Number two, Stephen A. Smith said the same thing, who seems to be plugged in as well. For me, I don't see this thing being repaired at all. I don't see it being repaired. Do you know why? Because Scottie is still going at it. That audio that we played for you was just the first shot. He didn't stop. Scottie Pippen at every opportunity has berated and condemned Michael Jordan publicly since 2020. The last one he said was the one where he lost all of us, where he said before he got to the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan was a horrible basketball player. That's where you lost me. That is where you lost me. That Michael Jordan was a horrible Can an NBA person even say that? Is that even possible? It's like a soccer player saying Cristiano Ronaldo was a horrible player, or saying Maradona was a horrible player, or saying Messi is a horrible player, or saying Pele is a horrible player. It's crazy. But that's what Scottie Pippen said. And what made it even worse was that Scottie Pippen was MJ's teammate. He was MJ's teammate. My thing is this, and this is the reason I personally believe they will never work it out, is this. In the aftermath of the Last Dance docuseries, Scottie Pippen started revealing things and thoughts that he had about MJ that apparently he harbored for decades. For decades. He said MJ was always a selfish player. Did you discover that at the end of The Last Dance, or is that something that you always felt? I'm trying to figure it out. A lot of the things that Scottie Pippen was describing were things that were going on while they were teammates, which means that you always held these emotions towards Michael Jordan in secret. You never made it. You never made it public. And I don't personally believe that MJ knew Scottie Pippen felt that way about him and was still friendly with him. Why would you be friendly with someone that doesn't like you? And I think a lot of the comments that Scottie Pippen made, I think they sent a jolt through Jordan's system because I think he was blindsided by it. The part I don't get is in that docuseries, Jordan criticized everyone, including himself. He showed his low moments as well. It wasn't like as if he was singling you out. I heard Shannon Sharp say, well, that didn't happen while you're there, but it's part of the Bulls story. They're also talking about the dynasty. They didn't just talk about Jordan. They spoke about Pippen's background. They spoke about Dennis Rodman. They spoke about Jordan. They didn't single Scottie Pippen out. They were talking about the entire the amalgamation of players that they had. They had Horace Grant was on there. I think he was on there. Isaiah Thomas was on there. And so many other people were there that were part of that story. Phil Jackson was on there. Kobe Bryant was on. All of these guys were lending their opinions and views to enriching that docuseries that was centered on a dynastic run that ultimately reached its climax in 1998. So when Shannon Sharp made that point, it was a moot point. It was a moot point. I think if this situation is ever to be salvaged, it's going to take a lot of maturity from Michael Jordan, and honestly, to be quite frank with you, a lot of forgiveness. You got to really turn the other cheek. Do you know why I'm saying this? Because in the midst of all of this, MJ has not said a word publicly about Scottie Pippen. It's always been Scottie taking shots at MJ. So MJ would have to be the bigger man here. Or unless Scottie Pippen just has a eureka moment or some kind of epiphany and decides to go out there and apologize to Michael Jordan like, hey man, I didn't mean all of the stuff that I said. So I doubt it. Would it be nice? Yes, but I 100% doubt it. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.